Hey, what's up? I know, hiatus again. However, man, I don't even know what to tell you guys anymore. You know I travel for work and it's just kind of caught up to me. I've been traveling a lot to Minnesota recently, so I've been trying to get my bearings in this city. But in the new year and, Q4, it was just literally rough trying to get a handle on the city and get my bearings back, get my schedule back. So finally found some time to make a video, and there was a specific reason why I wanted to pick up my gear and do a review. And that's because there's these headphones that I've been using, or these earbuds that I've been using, that have been really my drivers for work, for going out, for everything. Because they were just so convenient. And those are the Jabra Elite 65T, the active version specifically. They were, I guess, because the industry has changed a lot since they first came out, but they're pretty perfect. Like, they still fit pretty well. They had great isolation despite not having active noise canceling. They lasted like 5 or 6 hours on the earbud, and then I think throughout the day it could be 15 hours. So, I mean, I got through an entire day pretty easy. Charged the case at night, and even during meetings I would just stick them into the case so they would charge. So they were pretty hassle-free. And I was pretty happy with them. I think the only gripes that I really had around them were, I think, the case. Well, the case was one of them because it had that soft touch feel, which was lovely, except it was scratching all the time. And then I think at that point I just really wished that they were magnetic. So I think they had pretty snug fittings, so that you don't have to really worry about them falling out. But just the whole closure and putting into the case was a little bit of hassle because they weren't magnetic like some of the other brands out there. So that was sort of a gripe for me. And then I guess the last one is just it didn't have USB-C. But other than that, they were literally everything that I needed in a headphone, especially for an earbud that would last that long. It was great. And the reason why I'm not showing you this stuff is because I freaking lost them in Minnesota. So I went out for a concert and then I came back and I just couldn't find them. I'm pretty sure one of these Minnesota cabs have them in their back seat. Someone was gifted those for free. So I lost them. So it did remind me though, I always carry a set of extra headphones with me. And as a result, I ended up finding one of my 2018 purchases, TicPods. I think they're called free. They weren't free, but I do have some thoughts about what they are, because I've been using them as sort of as my holdover until I get a new pair of headphones. I was actually hoping that these would last a little bit longer, but I did find some quirks about them that I never really noticed until I revisited them. These guys worked out pretty great, and I think I bought them as a response to there's a response to my Pixel Buds review, because everyone was starting to get AirPods and I was kind of getting jealous. So I got the Pixels because they worked with Android pretty well, obviously, but they just didn't pan out. So out of desperation, I looked for another model that was out there. At that time, I don't think there was a ton of competition. They were either bulky or way too expensive, like the Sonys. So I think these were like a good compromise while I waited out for it. And I think out of the box, I really liked them. And it was because, one, magnetic closure. That's just probably the best part of what I liked about them, is that they were easy to put in, put out. I didn't have to worry about things falling out, and they're great. As well as, unlike the Pixels, they actually had some silicone tips that gave a little bit of isolation. And I will give it to the TicPods is that they isolate pretty well for their price point. They actually did fit in pretty well, but we'll get into the fit in a little bit. And then I think overall I just like the design and like the fact that it had this little pulley. Like, overall it's a great case. Like, it's not as good as what the Pixel was, but it's an overall functional case. It was pretty small and easy to carry around. At the time when I got them out of the box, they worked decently well. I think I got like consistently 4 hours out of them, and again, I think it has like 20 hours or 18 hours in the case, so it was pretty good about making it throughout the day. And that charge was pretty consistent, at least when in the initial times. So there was nothing to complain about. But then obviously I got new headphones, I forgot about these, but picking these up again, I learned a lot about this stuff. So think like retroing back to what these TicPods were, I got to really understand what the technology was back then and how it's improved. When you're looking at this, you're really considering sound and a lot of functionality that are standard on most headphones these days, but going back into the TicPods, you're seeing just a lot of lacking. So upon trying to use this in just anywhere, just working out everywhere that I tried to use this for, it kind of just faltered. So let's get into the sound signature. So the sound signature, I would say, is very consistent through the mids, and then everywhere else is just bleh, because it's got super muddy and heavy bass for the package, and in terms of the trebles, they're just not clear or distinct enough to really shine beyond that mud, and that's what gives it this sort of, it's just super undefined. Like again, if you have something that's heavy mids, you'll be fine, but most music's not tuned that way, as well as the fact that, I don't know, it just felt like the trebles were just not there and the vocals got drowned out by anything, so they were just very muted in comparison to the rest of the sound signature. So from a sound perspective, they're not that great. In terms of the mic quality, I remember them being so much better. I just remember them being so much better. Maybe that was just me being hopeful, but I tried them on conference calls, and unless I was in a quiet office, they didn't do much to save the sound around me. Like you could hear everything. Like people were like, "Where are you?" Because everything sounded windy, everything sounded very noisy, even if it was just like, you know, just passing in a restaurant or something like that. Like normally, most headphones these days have enough mics to compensate for it. These just don't. They don't work to today's standard. And then that kind of comes down to also not only just the microphone, but the actual fit themselves. So having these in all day, they were fine if they stayed in. But I did notice that over time, those silicone tips that you see there, they hardened in cold weather. And they just they are silicone, they are soft, but for some reason they just have some kind of coating on them that don't grip in the ear. So there's been many times when I was talking or I was just leaning on one side and the earbud would come out. And again, I thought it was maybe because they're too small, and I don't know, my ears grew. I have no idea. But I tried different ear tips and it didn't really resolve the issue. The funny thing is, the shallowness of the ear tips, which I have in some B-roll here, is that they also would be prone to just fall out of their placement. So like sometimes I would just have an ear tip stuck in my ear because the actual holder of that ear tip wouldn't be secure enough, or it wouldn't hold that silicone tip in place. So I would just have these pieces of silicone in my ear. And then overall, just the fit's just not very consistent because of the shape of it, and it doesn't really contour to the ear. You can kind of move them around a lot, so you kind of have like a weird fake earpod looking thing, but then like your tips of the actual ear where they hang out of your earlobe, they can be in different angles, so you kind of look weird to people because they're like, what are those? Totally understandable, but that also just shows you the fit is not very secure, so they do shift around with everyday movement. So I really wanted these to still work for me, but so many things just make it not ideal. And again, I would hope that I would be able to keep these in my bag and use them just in case I forgot them, because that's sort of my MO. But these just don't do it anymore. Like, you have a sound signature that's very hard to manage across a breadth of music. The actual earbuds themselves don't really fit well, and they kind of move around, and the mic don't work, so I can't use them for calls. So like really the redeeming factor would just be, you know, casual listening, use them for gym. But that's when this becomes a problem still. So while the charge was 4 hours initially, it is 4 hours still, but only in one earbud. And I know you guys may think like, oh, maybe you forgot and neglected it. Not really. I usually carry around my Moment case for my lenses, but I also keep like other small electronics in here, and it's pretty well padded. I keep that in my backpack. So I've been taking care of it. I've been charging it regularly, not overcharging it. So I've been taking pretty good care of it, but the left earbud just has no more battery life, essentially. It lasts about 10 minutes before I lose that, so I'm in the gym listening to one earbud. And normally that'd be okay, and even on runs, maybe that'd be okay. But I have noticed, again, I'm in Minnesota, in cold weather, the earbuds just, the functionality with the touch just becomes extremely irresponsive. So that also doesn't work. So what else can go wrong here is really just checking how it works with video. So I do a lot of conference calls, I also watch a lot of YouTube, and anything on the computer works pretty well, but for some reason these earpods or these TicPods just falter in terms of there's a lag for any sort of mobile app. I don't know what that is. And you know, I did a check for a firmware update and all those sort of things, and it just, I don't know, it's like half a second, but it's noticeable. It's like very minimal, but the lag is there, especially if you watch a lot of YouTube and you watch like commentary channels, like it's just slightly off and it's just upsetting. So I don't think I can proceed with these. I don't think I can use these anymore. So like I've been looking around for different options, but the reason why I was reminded of this, that was in my bag at all, was because I saw an ad for their new stuff. Okay, so let's check out what I found. So again, I got an ad for the TicPods 2. So I thought it would be an interesting insight to just look at what's available here. So TicPods 2 says 4 hours in ear, 20 hours in case. So it did improve, not in the ears, but it did improve in the case by 2 hours. So not that much innovation there. They did add single canceling or single mic cancellation, again for these are the two. So that this was also something I had to read about because the two models had different noise cancellation, but this is only for calls. This is not active, so the actual things that you'll hear on calls, it'll block out that noise, so the mics will be more responsive to your surroundings and improve call quality. Again, that'll help me during conference calls and things like that. But since it's not active noise canceling, it's not going to help with all the noise that comes in. And again, these isolated pretty well from what I understand, but they changed the design completely. So they no longer have these silicone tips that you saw here. So the isolation probably goes away. They kind of follow more of the design language of the AirPods, the original AirPods. As a result, you're not really gonna get that much isolation, so you're definitely gonna hear things more. I don't care how good the technology is, if you don't have some sort of seal like that, or you don't have an over-ear headphone, you're not really gonna get that isolation that you need. Wind's just gonna come in, it's just how the design works. I'm trying to think what else. So to me, that's a reversion. So there's also still no multi-connect, like these don't multi-connect. So it was really a hassle to get them back between my laptop and phone, so they still don't have a multi-connect with the TicPods, which sucks because that's pretty standard these days. Let's see. Apparently the lag's not fixed. Yeah, so I found some interesting reviews saying that there's still a video lag. How much are these going for? They're going for 99 bucks. What? $99. And again, I guess that would be compelling because like a lot of the true wireless headphones are going like 150 higher. But these don't have great isolation. There's not really that much bump in specs. I mean, I guess the mics are better, so if you want to use them as conference headsets, you could do something like that. But I don't know. Like, let me look at this a little bit. Yeah, like, take this. So it's 99 bucks for these, new versions of these TicPods. But if I go and look at the Jabra 65Ts that they're retailing right now, I can get a new set for 130 to 150 bucks. I mean, at that range, like, I would rather save up 30 to 50 bucks to get a better headset. I mean, maybe older, but it still has better technology and all those things. And then if I go and look at the refurbished, that's a $50 to $70 price point, which, geez, even if I were to buy the TicPods free right now, how much are those? TicPods free run at 60 bucks. So you can get the 65Ts for less money in a refurbished state than the TicPods free. And they would still be less than the TicPods 2. But here's another thing. So the TicPods 2 have a Pro version, because what doesn't have a Pro version these days? Let's see if those are any better. So it says 4 hours in ear. So again, no bump in ear, battery life. Like in ears, only 4 hours. It's been 4 hours for 2 years, sir. But you get 3 more hours in the case, so I guess you can charge it more, it'll make it through the day. Sure, but again, if they haven't improved the technology and improved their charging base, it's gonna lose charge extremely fast. I mean, I don't know how much better I gotta taking care of these guys, but they just don't function now, or at least one earbud doesn't. So this one has the benefit of noise canceling dual mics. So that means that both earbuds have it. So that means the old one is just a single mic, it'll only listen to you and block out from one side. This one's supposed to be 2, so $30 extra to get you that. Voice command heavy, so they have this thing called Tic here, but apparently it doesn't work in ambient, but there's a lot of ambient noise. So if you're probably in a city, these probably won't work when you're trying to change tracks. So I mean, it still does have the touch controls that TicPods always has had, but it sounds like they're trying to do the whole thing where you use your voice instead of actual controls to control the headset. And I forgot what thing I tried where it was like that, but it was terrible. I think it was actually Google for a little bit, because they took the Pixels actually took that functionality away where I could change through the swipes and all this other stuff. And they made me talk to freaking Google, which I never want to do that, and that's just awkward in public. So again, these companies aren't really looking at all that. And then, very Google-esque, they added some other features like Tic Motion. What is Tic Motion, you ask? It is head gestures on your headphones to control your headphones. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, this sounds like the stupid Google Pixel where you're just swiping along with not out touching your phone. Stuff I totally needed, not. And I just don't get this. It's like you've had a lot of time to sort of catch up to the industry and look at things, and you develop a new product. And instead of looking at like, oh, there's some gaps here, or I need to catch up here, you just build a piece of technology just to build an upgrade. And that upgrade sucks. Like, all they did was copy the design language of the AirPod regular, and then added some useless features. Like, that is the most Google thing I've ever heard, is I'm gonna just release the same old shit, and then I'm gonna add some dumbass features like gestures and astrophotography. And in this case, they're just saying, instead of using your hands, I'm gonna use my head to say reject call, accept call. I don't even know what else there would be for head gestures, like volume up, volume down. Like, none of that makes sense. That is just a useless use of the money that you spent to make these things. And again, the $130, I would rather just get the previous gen Jabra 65T Elites for the same price. You get a brand new set. It's better than those. So that's infuriating. That's so infuriating. And I don't know what else to do about these headphones except really just snap them in half. Make them useless, because that's what they are. And this company, because of how they progressed, actually kind of made me mad because they didn't do shit over the years. They just were like, whatever, and that's super dumb. So, I can't recommend these. I recommend you not even look at the new shit. What I would say is look at older versions of Jabras if you can't really afford something. And I think that's my recommendation on most of these things is like, instead of splurge buy on something that is inferior, save your money for something that's better and lasts longer. And I mean, that's really all I can suggest for these, is because like they've made multiple products that don't really fit the bucket, and you're just compromising for no reason but still spending money. So save up for another month or two and get a decent pair that'll last you much longer. I mean, hell, I would have still been rocking my 65Ts if it wasn't for the fact I lost them. So, obviously, I need new headphones. And luckily, these finally came in. And I probably could have got these sooner, to be honest. I was just stubborn and I wanted to get the white and gold versions because I hate black headphones. They're just they just remind me of 90s technology. So having these took longer because I had to pre-order them, but they're here and they look beautiful. And I'm definitely going to do a review on these, so stay tuned. This is probably what I'm going to be testing out for the next week or so. So yeah, if you want to check out these Jabra 5Ts, I'm definitely going to do a review on these and see if I want to keep them. Chances are I'm going to keep them. But yes, there's a lot of options out there, but these ones attracted me the most just because I loved my 65Ts so much. And again, if you're looking for older Gen 1s, 65Ts are great. Just don't look at TicPods, because any older generation headphone most likely will fit the bill. Well, again, I've been talking a long time, and I just got so frustrated with that review, because the more I listened, the more I played with it, the more frustrated I got. So again, you'll see my composure go down as we go through this review, but I hope it really shows you how I feel about it. So appreciate you guys, sticking around. I know these videos come out super inconsistent, so I'm not even gonna promise you when I'm gonna get the next one. But I do have a product, and I do have a mobile recording studio now, so that helps a ton. So my goal is to hopefully get you something very soon, but hopefully you guys stick around and we can do more of these reviews. But anyway, love y'all, appreciate y'all. I'll definitely see you soon.